Have you ever heard a story so unbelievable that it made you question everything you thought you knew about love and courage? This is the tale of a beautiful princess, a humble crippled man, and a decision that turned an entire kingdom upside down. Stay with us, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss more amazing folktales like this one. Now, let's dive into the story. Once upon a time, in the vibrant kingdom of Urema. The land of Urema was blessed with fertile soil, rich culture, and a royal family deeply loved by its people. King Edward and Queen Grace ruled with kindness, ensuring their subjects lived in peace and harmony. They had one child, a daughter named Princess Abigail. Princess Abigail was the pride of the kingdom. She wasn't just beautiful, she was intelligent, kind-hearted, and fiercely independent. Her soft brown eyes sparkled with curiosity, and her smile could melt even the coldest of hearts. The people adored her, and many young princes from far and wide sought her hand in marriage. But Abigail had a secret. Despite her royal status, she often felt trapped in the gilded walls of the palace. She longed to experience life outside the castle gates, to walk among the common folk and understand their lives. One fateful evening, she disguised herself as a commoner and slipped out of the palace. Dressed in a simple gown and with a scarf covering her head, she walked through the bustling market, marveling at the sights, sounds, and smells of ordinary life. It was there, in the heart of the market, that she first saw him. Sitting by the side of the road was a young man named Daniel. His legs were crippled, leaving him unable to walk, but his hands were skilled, crafting the most intricate wooden carvings anyone had ever seen. Despite his condition, Daniel's spirit was unbroken. He greeted every passerby with a warm smile and a hopeful voice, offering his carvings for a modest price. Abigail was drawn to him immediately. There was something about his eyes, deep pools of resilience and hope that captivated her. She approached his stall, pretending to be an ordinary customer. "Your work is beautiful," she said, picking up a carving of a bird in flight. "Thank you," Daniel replied, his voice steady. "It's not much, but it keeps me going." They began to talk, and Abigail was amazed by his wisdom and his optimism despite his struggles. She learned that Daniel had lost the use of his legs as a child after a terrible illness, but he refused to let his disability define him. By the time the sun set, Abigail realized she didn't want to leave his side. Over the weeks that followed, Abigail continued to visit Daniel in the market, always in disguise. They grew closer, sharing stories, dreams, and laughter. Daniel treated her like an equal, never suspecting she was the princess of Urema. One day, as they sat under the shade of a large baobab tree, Daniel looked at her and said, "You're different from anyone I've ever met. I don't know who you really are, but I feel like I've known you forever." Abigail's heart raced. She wanted to tell him the truth, but she feared what might happen. Would he reject her if he knew she was royalty? Would her parents ever approve of her love for a crippled craftsman? Back at the palace, King Edward and Queen Grace were growing concerned. Abigail had been disappearing frequently, and they couldn't understand why. "You're the princess," her mother reminded her one evening. "Soon, you'll have to choose a suitor. The people expect you to marry someone worthy of the throne." But Abigail had already made her choice, even if she couldn't admit it yet. One fateful day, Daniel finally discovered Abigail's secret. She had come to the market in a rush and accidentally dropped her royal pendant, a symbol known by everyone in Urema. Daniel picked it up, his hands trembling. "You're the princess?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Abigail nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes. I didn't mean to deceive you, Daniel. I just wanted to be with you, to know you for who you are. Daniel was silent for a long moment. Abigail, he said finally, you have a duty to your people. How can someone like me, a crippled man with nothing to offer, be worthy of a princess? You are more than worthy, Abigail replied, her voice firm. You have a heart unlike anyone I've ever met. And I love you. Their love was undeniable, but their journey was far from over. When the royal court learned of Abigail's feelings, chaos erupted. The news spread like wildfire. How could the princess of Urema fall in love with a crippled man? The nobles were outraged, and the common folk were divided. Some admired Abigail's courage, while others whispered that she was disgracing the royal family. King Edward was furious. He summoned Abigail to the grand hall, his voice echoing with anger. You cannot marry a man like Daniel. He is not of noble blood, and his condition will bring shame to our lineage. Abigail stood her ground. Father, love is not about status or perfection. Daniel has a heart full of goodness, and I will not abandon him. The queen tried to mediate, but the king refused to listen. He issued an ultimatum: Abigail must end her relationship with Daniel or risk being disowned. But Abigail was determined. She knew that love was worth fighting for, even if it meant defying tradition. Abigail was heartbroken but determined. She sought advice from the one person she knew would understand her plight, her childhood nursemaid, Martha. Martha had served the royal family for decades, and she was more like a mother to Abigail than a servant. When Abigail poured out her heart, Martha listened intently. My dear, Martha said, taking Abigail's hands in hers, true love is rare, but it is not without trials. If you truly believe in Daniel, you must fight for him. But you must also prepare yourself for the consequences. Inspired by Martha's words, Abigail made a bold decision. She would leave the palace and live among the commoners to prove her love for Daniel. She believed that if the people saw her willingness to sacrifice everything, they might accept Daniel too. That night, Abigail packed a small bag and left the palace under the cover of darkness. She found her way to Daniel's modest home, where she explained her plan. Abigail, Daniel said, his voice trembling, you don't have to do this for me. Yes, I do, she replied firmly. Love isn't about convenience. It's about standing together, no matter the odds. Abigail quickly adjusted to her new life. She helped Daniel with his carvings, cooked meals, and even learned how to bargain in the bustling market. Though life was hard, Abigail found joy in the simplicity of their days together. But their happiness was short-lived. When the king discovered Abigail's disappearance, he was furious. He sent royal guards to search the kingdom, and soon enough, they found Abigail living in Daniel's humble home. The guards burst in, dragging Abigail and Daniel back to the palace. The people of Urema gathered to watch, whispering among themselves. At the royal court, the king's voice boomed. You have brought shame to this family, Abigail. Do you not see how your actions defy everything we stand for? Abigail stood tall, her voice steady. Father, the shame is not in love. The shame is in rejecting someone simply because they are different. Daniel may not have wealth or power, but he has a heart of gold. Isn't that what truly matters? The king was unmoved. If you insist on staying with this man, you will be banished from this kingdom forever. Gasps filled the room. The queen, with tears in her eyes, pleaded with Abigail to reconsider. But Abigail refused to back down. "Then banish me," she said, her voice unwavering. "But I will not give up on love." Just as the guards prepared to escort Abigail and Daniel out of the kingdom, something extraordinary happened. The royal priest, an old man known for his wisdom and visions, stepped forward. His presence commanded silence. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice calm but firm, "I have had a vision, a message from the gods themselves. This union is no accident. It is destined to bring great change to Urema." The king frowned. "What are you saying, priest?" "I am saying," the priest continued, "that Daniel is not just a humble craftsman. He is the key to a prophecy foretold long ago, a prophecy that speaks of a union between the royal bloodline and a man of humble beginnings. This union will bring prosperity and unity to our kingdom." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the priest's words. Could it be true? The king, still skeptical, decided to put Daniel to the test. "If this man is truly worthy of my daughter, let him prove it," the king declared. "Daniel, I challenge you to a test of wisdom, courage, and skill. If you succeed, I will bless your union. If you fail, you must leave this kingdom forever." Daniel agreed, though fear gripped him. He knew this was his one chance to prove himself not just to the king, but to the entire kingdom. The first test was one of wisdom. The king posed a riddle. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Daniel thought for a moment, then replied, "An echo." The court erupted in murmurs of surprise. Daniel had passed the first test. The second test was one of courage. The king commanded Daniel to retrieve a golden feather from the dangerous forest of Uduka, known to be guarded by fierce wild animals. With Abigail's encouragement, Daniel set out. Though his legs could not carry him, his determination did. Using his hands, he crafted a sturdy wooden sled and dragged himself into the forest. After hours of struggle, he returned with the golden feather, his body bruised but his spirit unbroken. The court was stunned. The final test was one of skill. The king handed Daniel a block of wood and said, "Carve something that represents your love for my daughter." Daniel worked tirelessly, and by the end of the day, he presented a beautiful sculpture of two intertwined hearts. One heart had cracks, symbolizing his struggles, but it was mended by the other heart, symbolizing Abigail's love. The court erupted in applause. Even the king was moved. For the first time, King Edward looked at Daniel not as a crippled man, but as someone worthy of his daughter's love. "You have proven yourself, Daniel," the king said, his voice softer. "I see now that strength comes in many forms. You have shown wisdom, courage, and skill beyond measure. I give you my blessing." The court erupted in cheers. The people of Urema, inspired by Daniel's resilience and Abigail's bravery, began to see love and equality in a new light. Abigail and Daniel were married in a grand ceremony, attended by nobles and commoners alike. Their union became a symbol of hope and unity, breaking barriers that had divided the kingdom for generations. Under their influence, Urema thrived. The people embraced kindness and compassion, and the kingdom became known as a place where everyone, regardless of their status or abilities, had a chance to shine. And so, the princess and the humble craftsman proved that love truly conquers all.